Hello everyone, and welcome to Things Invest. Talk about investing, finance, and professional development for today's every times only. The investment top today will be Ethereum ETH. So it's my second video that I'm posting again today, respect to recording time of 4:16 p.m. on Eastern time. Current trading $3,150, up about 6.19% so far. With respect to overall crypto market is surging today. With respect to Bitcoin leading the effort with the expectations of the $600 million of option expiry that's approaching for tomorrow on Friday. So with that, expectation is dragging up some buying pressure today, with Bitcoin up about 5.63% so far. And on top of the factor of that option expiry, on Ethereum specifically, there's been a lot of positive news that's been percolating so far, right? And the news are really revolving, coming from multiple different media outsourced like Bitcoinist and Bazinga in the last 12 hours so far, and also with some sprinkle from CNBC at the same time. So with respect to a couple of ones that I see so far, came out 3 hours ago from Bitcoinist. The depiction is talking about Ethereum seems to be holding above 3,000, but per the technical analysis, does it seem like it can sustain the level that we at right now? So the depiction is basically talking about, seems like there are a lot of bearish pressure dragging up the price level, right? For us today, we dragged down below 3,000 to hit the $2,958. But obviously some media expectations start to get picked up. Across the board, collectively, I will say majority has been more positive. Just to name another one that came out 4 hours ago on Bazinga. It's a CEO, that's from the Very. I think it's a French company, if I'm not mistaken. And I hope I'm not butchering the name either. The depictions from this CEO is another name drop again, right? Talking about Ethereum will outperform and beat Bitcoin in 2021. Obviously, based on what we have seen so far, it seems like it's already happening with respect to the B Word Summit, and ever since then, with some of the corporate adoptions and obviously subsequent to a London fork, it seems like obviously Ethereum has been surging much higher on a percentage perspective, in comparisons to Bitcoin. So that's something we have seen already or have known already, right? And then some regurgitation news across the whole crypto market, despite the surge that we're seeing, is negative, right? Talking about the 90 million cryptocurrency that was stolen in a Japanese exchange that was hacked, right? And then another one is talk about a lawsuit that's cultivating, between Binance and some of the, investors that are on that platform, right, seeking, to sue them because of the outage that they've been experiencing, right? The opportunity cost, for not being able to take profit or not being able to transact at all, which is the monumental critical value proposition that they provide, right? So obviously, we'll cultivate it into a subsequent lawsuit, which, as we've seen, is percolating right now. And then some other news is really regurgitation news about, more like just position news comparing Bitcoin with Ethereum. So just another just position news. Try to pump up Ethereum as on a media front, right? So it seems like we are sustaining above the $3,000 despite the sell-off that we saw today. So I'm going to go through a technical analysis to see how we're trending right now, right, with respect to the drag effect that we experienced from Bitcoin and some other media affectation, right? Do we see us staying above 3,000 or do we see more of a sell-off coming? So stay tuned, Instagram, let's make some money. Alright, so moving on to the technical analysis for Ethereum ticket ETH. I'm recording at 4:20 p.m. on Eastern time. Current trading at $3,146, up about 6% so far. You can see that with Bitcoin, it is dragging up as well, up about 5.45%. And then respectively on the other altcoin, is surging relatively just as high. Dogecoin up about 5% so far. Cardano's up about, 14% so far, which is just absolutely, astronomical growth that we're seeing right now. And you see how extremely dragged up the MACD and the RSIs at the moment, which makes sense for the reason that we're seeing right now. Seems like there's a whale that has bought in a relatively sizable amount today, which subsequently drive the surge that we're experiencing right now, but also with obviously the drag effects from Bitcoin as well, right? So talk about Ethereum, it correlates with the overall market so far. It seems like we formed that cross section recently, and the cross section happened on the 17th, which I look on the calendar is basically 2 days ago on a Tuesday. And ever since then, we've been, we sold off a little bit, and then we are surging today because of the overall market being dragged up. Also on the equity side, you could see that we were kind of red today from the growth stock, so that subsequently can have some anti-correlation effect at the same time. So it seems like we are, hovering on a comfort level, right? The 3,150, which is a level we've identified so far as a substantive level of consolidation, right? The next level, 3,000, again, it's not a substantive level. It's either we go down below 3,000 to go to the 2,750, or we struggle around at the level that we are struggling, right? And it seems like we are basically continuing the platform of 3,150, which is a good sign. If we want to build upon, an architectural perspective, but we talk about financial assets, but, in a financial asset perspective, that's also another benefits to the further escalations for the price level going forward, right? So it seems like today, despite the positive media affectation and the positive, drag effects that we're seeing from Bitcoin, it seems like the MACD is slowly dragging up right now, and our side, despite the surge, we are still, we under the, the equator line of being overbought. So in a perfect scenario, if we don't want any sell off, we will be trading on a sideways fashion like this. I really hope that we continue to percolate on a sideways fashion like this, and we could just like continue swing trade back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Buy at the 3,000. Sell at the 3,100, buy at the 3,000, sell at the 3,150, or even higher if we get to, right? So this weekend is a critical one I want us to be watching out for, right? If this weekend with the expiry tomorrow and we do not see Bitcoin crashing, and obviously with that drag effect, we see Ethereum sustaining about the $3,000 level, that's a relatively good setup because as we go on, the RSI is going to start to deplete over time, and the MACD is going to start drag down over time. And eventually, if we drag up for such a long time, which is static, it will eventually normalize itself. That's just the course of cadence, right? In a more of a physics and inertia perspective, right? And that's the ideal case for us to just trade on a sideways fashion, for maybe a couple weeks or a month or so, and eventually deplete the whole technicals that we just bounce off the 3,000, and eventually once we get to the bottom right here, the whales will be incentivized to come up and public investors will be incentivized to come up again, that we should be surging up to get above the next level, the 3,390, which is the level that we have identified so far. And once we get there, we'll be leap up and away, right? So ideally, we hope to see a downward wedge, right, by see the sideways percolations on a sideways fashion. And eventually, once we hit that apex on the downward wedge, ideally above the $3,000 level, we should be surging up going forward. So it seems like it's trending in the right direction. But again, we still need to watch the technicals because, with this media affectation and on top of the 16, 17 days of surge so far, the risk is definitely increasing. But I do like the sideways fashion. But we need to watch the weekend because of the weekend affectation. Those typically incentivize investors to sell, and when we see those red pressure, the whales are also incentivized to sell during the weekend as well. So something we have to watch out for. And again, for me, based on what we see so far, 3,000 will be first level dollar cost average, 2,750 second one, which is the next substantive level, and 2,450. And these levels will be the levels I will ideally dollar cost average, knowing the fact that I do have a relatively large position. All right, just to recap on numbers and technical analysis. So it seems like we are, still struggling about the $3,000 level. So ideally, we hope that the weekend and the Friday, we will stay above 3,000. But if we break 3,000 again, that's another bearish signal, right? It seems like there's a battle between the bears and the bulls right now. And today's is really just mainly dragged up from obviously the news and with respect to Bitcoin option expiry. So something we have to be mindful of. So the level of sustainability would be about 3,000 during this weekend. If we could ride that out, continue to trade on a sideways fashion, just oscillate on a sideways fashion in the next weeks or so, while the RSI and the MACD start to deplete over time, that would be great, because that will be building a new substance level of the $3,000 level, or 3,150 to be more specific. right? But for me, knowing the fact it's not verified yet, right? 2,750 and 2,450, those are still the levels that I ideally want to be buying at. And ideally, again, we want to be trending on a sideways fashion to completely deplete the technicals to the point that we are able to buy the 3,000 now, that we can buy in because it's the right incentive across the whole supply and demand dynamic spectrum. Hopefully that makes sense. And with respect to corporate adoption, 9,800, 3.3 times your money if you buy at the $3,000 level. Right, so that's it for there. Respect my technical analysis on Ethereum ticket ETH. Hopefully this is helpful and to give you an understanding around like what's going on in the market dynamics perspective and what to look out for, right? Really appreciate you. I think this is my last video that I'm posting today. I'm relatively tired. I had like long meetings today already. But the clock never stops, right? Really appreciate you, and feel free to give me a shout if you have any questions, and stay tuned for this to come up. Take care. Bye.